Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, everybody, we are back, and of course, it is Friday, and this wonderful lady I have next to me is the one and only Candace Plattor. We've done shows for a while now. We've gotten to know each other, and I always look forward to her shows, not only because they're so entertaining, but for the fact that she is just helping people that don't know where to get the help. And she's an inspiration. She's lived what she's helping with. She still deals with it. And I like to call her a friend. Candace Plattor, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Hi, KC. Yeah.
So tell us about Love with Boundaries in case people never heard about it before.
Yep.
What I'm so proud that you're able to get on here and help people with what you're doing. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I'm, I forgot to turn off my notifications. Let me do that so I don't get distracted.
Okay.
All right. I am an addictions therapist, and I work out of Vancouver, Canada, but I work worldwide because I'm on Zoom. I specialize in working with the families of people who are struggling with addiction, because there's so much help out there for the addicts. You know, there's detox and treatment and counseling and self-help groups and all that stuff that's there for people who want to clean up. But there's hardly anything for the families.
And they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. They're so bewildered and they're so frustrated and they're terrified that the addict they love could die out there. And we all know that that's possible.
It can.
Because it keeps happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I lost my friend this week.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
And so at any age, I'm not a young kid anymore. This is an adult who lost the battle with addiction. So this doesn't stop unless you go to somebody like Candace, and what you can't do for yourself, sometimes your family can do, but you got to want it.
Yeah, and the family needs to know the things that work instead of continuing to do things that aren't working. They don't know what else to do, but they're not working. Right. So what I do is I help the family members learn the difference between enabling an addict and helping an addict. And as that change starts to happen in the family, things get so much better in most cases. 99.9% of families just are able to kick addiction to the curb.
Wow.
And not have to deal with it anymore.
Can you expand on the difference between those two things, between enabling
and helping? Sure. One of my favorite things to talk about. So enabling is the simple definition that I have is when you're doing something for somebody else that they can do for themselves and that they actually should be doing for themselves. So a lot of families are letting addicts live in the house, in the family home, because they don't have any money, rent-free, being obnoxious with the family, sleeping all day, staying up all night, making noise, cooking in the kitchen at 3 o'clock in the morning, pots and pans, things like that.
Being children.
They're basically acting like 5-year-olds, very entitled. I get to do whatever I want.
I have a problem. I have a disease.
Well, I have a disease, and I really don't have a problem with it. It's you that you have the problem. So there's a lot of gaslighting going on as well. So when you enable an addict, you basically help keep them stuck in the addiction.
Got it.
It's kind of that simple. And when an addict is enabled, what we know for sure is that they don't recover, because why should they? They don't have incentive to do any inner work because the family's rescuing them and enabling them and, doing all kinds of things that shouldn't be happening. when you help an addict, you start doing different kinds of behaviors and you start setting some boundaries with consequences that matter to the addict so that the addict can kind of have a chance to recover.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And I love, Candace, that today you're going to give us a way to set the boundaries, but there's
Yeah,
something, because this is I know I've hinted about it, but this is our last show for the series right now.
yeah,
And I'm very,
yeah. Mm.
I know it's not get sad about it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I want to make sure that I ask you everything that I think would that you can with your talent and your experience to help. The one thing I don't think I've ever asked is, say I don't have kids, but say I have a 17-year-old, 25-year-old son,
Yep.
and I love this kid to death, uh, but
Yeah.
I'm afraid if I put the rules down and I put the boundary down, say, hey, you can't do that. You're going to have to hold your own. You can't leave this, all that stuff. I'm afraid that he's going to say, all right, F you, dad, I'm going to go out. And I'm afraid I won't see this kid again.
Well, that's a possibility. And what I do is teach a way that helps addicts be able to hear what you're saying instead of getting all defensive um, and leaving. Often, addicts really don't have. Um, I just had another thought that I want to say. Addicts don't really have another place to go. So a lot of times they will stay and listen to the boundaries and respect the boundaries for a while, and then they go back to their old ways. If you let them do that without consequences, they will do that, right? So I want to let people know that I am 35 years clean and sober myself. I'm an addict, and I had a 15-year opioid addiction, which started for me because the doctors kept prescribing painkillers and Valium and all kinds of very addictive medication for Crohn's
For
disease.
a real
So that's how,
disease.
yeah, for a real disease. Thank you. Yeah, addiction and Crohn's, totally different. Addiction and cancer, totally different. Addiction is not a disease, it's a condition. It's not a disease, and it's not a disease that you're powerless over. And there's a real bad message that's been going on for a really long time. And that is that when somebody's addicted, they have a disease because there's brain involvement in this. Of course, there's brain involvement. There's brain involvement in everything we do, right? Everything we do has brain involvement. That doesn't make addiction a disease. So the message that people have been getting for 20, 30, 40, 50 years is that if you're addicted, if you have a problem with addiction, you have a disease, you are powerless over that disease, and you're going to relapse because relapse is a normal and natural part of recovery. So I'm here to tell you that at 35 years clean, I don't have a disease. That's not the disease I have. I'm not powerless over this. I make a choice every day that I'm going to stay clean and sober. And I've never relapsed, even though I've had opportunities to do so. I have not relapsed. So I think telling an addict and their family, especially their family, that they have a disease that they're powerless over is one of the most dangerous things you can do with
I love
addiction,
that. I love you say that.
because it takes away personal responsibility from the addict. It gives the family a wrong, absolutely inaccurate message.
It gives like a permission to the addict to
It totally does.
go screw up. Hey, we feel so bad. It's gonna happen to you. No, it's not that way.
Yeah,
Look at
that's
you.
right. It keeps everybody stuck,
Yeah,
and nobody has to be stuck. Anybody can make the choice to recover. And I'll also say that anybody who's in recovery, like I am, anybody who's in recovery knows absolutely that we're in recovery because we make a choice every day to be in recovery. Sometimes we're making that choice every second of every day,
yeah.
especially in early recovery.
Hmm.
Because if it wasn't a choice that I could make, I would probably still be out there using, or I'd be dead.
You wouldn't be talking to me right now. That's for
No,
sure.
you wouldn't even want to know me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I love that because that's not what everyone, you know, has anyone ever come down and said that's insensitive to say something like that, which it
yes,
totally isn't. But
yes. I have had a lot of pushback on it over the years, but I can tell you that recently, in the past couple of years, so many people contact me and say, thank
you're
you.
coming around.
Thank you. Yes, people are coming around to the fact that, I mean, I'm not saying that the 12-step program, they're the ones that talk about disease and relapse and stuff and powerlessness. I'm not saying that those aren't good programs
Well, it helped
because they
you in the
have things in
beginning.
them that saved my life, saved my life. And it was the only it was the only thing I could do for recovery 35 years ago. But, there are so many good facets of 12-step programs, but they have a message that's dangerous. And so I don't go to them. If a client of mine wants to go to them, I'm really fine with that. I'm also going to be talking with them about powerlessness and disease and giving them another message to see how they feel about that.
Got it. Got it. Now let's get back to good because the holidays are coming up and it's a tough time if there's an addict, you
Yes,
know. But I'm
yes.
curious to say, um, what are some ways to set the boundaries?
Hmm. Well, there are a few ways, but I know we're always pressed for time in our shows,
No.
so I'm just going to give one that I think works for most people. It's a very easy, once you kind of wrap your head around it, it's a really easy thing to do. So I call it the sandwich technique. And
Okay.
so like to use the analogy of an Oreo cookie. It's a little misleading because the stuff in the middle of the Oreo cookie is always the best. That's the best part of the
It
cookie.
is. It is.
But in this case, it's the most difficult part.
Okay.
So the sandwich technique is positive, negative, positive. So when you're going to set a boundary with an addict or even anyone, you can say something positive to begin with. Honey, I love you so much and I'm really proud of you for whatever. I just want to tell you how wonderful it's been to be able to see, positive, something positive. And try to make it something that's real. So you need to find something positive.
Nothing about the
Then
addiction, just something positive about the person.
just that's right. Just something positive about the person, about the situation, whatever. It could be. I know that you were looking online yesterday for a program to go to. I think that's just wonderful. I'm so glad and I'm so proud of you.
Okay.
Positive. Then you get to the negative part. I need to let you know that I'm having an issue with the fact that you're sleeping all day and you're up all night when the rest of the family is trying to sleep. We don't want that to go on anymore. So if you're going to be living here in our home, and we want you to be here, but if you're going to be here, then what you need to do is stay upstairs in your room at night. I'd like to see you get up in the morning by 9 o'clock every morning so that you can rearrange your sleeping, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then you sleep at night like the rest of us do, because this is a real issue for us and we're not happy about it.
Okay.
Positive, negative. Tell the truth. Tell the addict the truth. And then something positive again. So don't use it all up in the first part.
Okay. So
Save
save some for
something.
this. For this.
Save something
Sure.
for. You could even say, and thank you so much for listening to me today. I really appreciate the fact that you listened and you didn't interrupt, but you heard me, and I really like that. Thank you. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge because you're not coming down. And if I were the addict and you said something like that to me, I wouldn't come back. You're like, well, you did that, like at a like an
Right.
intervention. I would say, oh, okay,
Oh, Okay, you're having trouble with me being up at night. Okay, well, I'll see what I can do about that.
And you said these
Thanks,
two
Mom.
nice things about me too,
Right,
which gives me a little confidence. So,
right.
yeah,
And the end is like most people have heard the saying, leave them wanting more.
yeah,
And it's kind of like training a puppy. If anybody's ever had a puppy, because the puppy wants to please you. The addict doesn't want fighting and all of that all the time. They're okay with conflict, and they're probably better than you are with conflict, but they don't want that.
right.
If they can just use, they'd be happy, right? Um, so so when you train a puppy, if the puppy pees on the floor, then you need to do something about that, because you need to gently teach the puppy that that's not okay. Sometimes people swat them on the nose with a newspaper. I don't really like that one because I think it probably hurts. But I think there are other ways that you can let the
Spray
puppy
bottle.
know. A spray bottle, you maybe do stick his nose in it a little bit, just a little bit, and then put him outside. Try to teach him the connection, you know. And then when the puppy does something good, good puppy, he
Yeah,
starts scratching on the door because he has to pee, good puppy, and then the puppy's going to want more and more of that,
got it, got it.
right? And the addict is going to want more and more of that. So you want to encourage somebody to want the better stuff.
Yeah, it's a great technique, but I have to ask you, um, should you, if you know that this person, let's just say it's our brother, okay, let's just say that, let's just
Yep.
say,
Could
and
have
we
been.
we know our brother uses drugs and alcohol. Should we use this technique when we know he's he's high or whatever, or should we
No,
use it when he's struggling, maybe hungover or something like that? What does
it's
it
a
matter?
really great question. You want to do this, you want to set boundaries in a non-charged moment,
Charged? What do you mean?
when it's not, when he's not high, when he's
Oh,
not going to react to you, and it's not going to be this,
okay.
right? You want to take him, and you might want to even take him out to Tim Hortons. Well, that's Canadian. You might want to take him
No, I
out to
know what that
Dunkin'
is.
Donuts. Okay, to a coffee shop, and buy him a treat, and sit him down in public where he probably won't go off on you, and and tell him what you need to tell him or her,
Hmm.
him or her, and and do it that way. But you don't want to talk to the addiction.
When they're high, you
You want
mean?
to, right. You want to talk to the person. So you don't want to talk when they've been drinking. You don't want to talk when they've been using. They'll get really upset. It won't go well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you
I'm
answered
really
that.
glad you asked that. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't know. Like, I've known people that are like nice, or they're talkative when they're using, and then to the opposite, when they're not using, they don't want to be around anybody, and they're grouchy.
Yeah. But they'll probably want a donut.
Okay, yeah,
Most people
we
will.
all got to eat, right?
Gotta eat. Gotta eat.
All right. And Candace Platter, talk to me about the what you wish for the holidays. That was a great um, piece of information. I like the Oreo cookie. So
Yeah.
it's a positive comment. Then there's something that I'd like to talk to you about that's but bothering us.
Yeah. The
Finish it up with
negative
positive.
feedback. The thing you're having problem with, the negative feedback. Yeah.
Got it.
But
And,
then you end with a positive of some
and
of some kind. You know, give yourself a test to find something else positive
don't
that
don't
you can
don't
say.
don't waste it in the first slice of the cookie. Save some
That's
for
right.
dessert.
Save some for the yeah.
And you said something about the holidays coming up where you put it out there and you say, we want you to come over, but
Hmm.
this is the way it's going to be. Can you
Yeah.
reiterate that again? Because I know people would love to hear that.
Yeah. There's three really difficult scenarios probably more, but there are three difficult ones for families of people with addiction. One of them is when you know your addict, you know where your addict is, you know where they live, you sometimes have contact with them. Then another is when you have no idea where your addict is. They could be anywhere and you haven't heard from them, you haven't seen them. This is just heart-wrenching for families when this happens. And because they don't know whether they're even alive, right? They have no idea where they are. And of course, the third one is when you've lost somebody to addiction. And that's, I mean, words can't even describe what that feels like for a family. Now, if you know where your addict is, if you're thinking about having that person come to your dinner, come to your holiday event, whatever it is, then the best thing to do is talk amongst yourselves as a family and come up with some boundaries that you'd like to set, some things that you want to see happen, things you don't want to see happen, and be as united as you can on the same page. And maybe a couple of people from your family talk to the addict together. You don't want 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. You don't want the addict to feel like he's being ganged up on, but 1 or 2. 2 is usually better than 1 because they don't fight as much when there's 2 people there. And you say to that person, you know, we love you so much. We miss you. We don't see you very often, and we love you so much. And we'd really like for you to come to our dinner on Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving, and we'd like you to be there with us. This year, what we want to see, though, is for you to be able to be clean and sober at our dinner, for you to choose that instead of, you're not to go to the bathroom and snort a line of Coke. You're not to come drunk. You're not to drink while you're here. If the family decides to have alcohol, and some families support the addict by not having alcohol, and so nobody drinks. But this is what we expect of you. We expect you to be clean and sober for, a couple of hours that you're going to be with us. And if you think that you can do that, then we would really love to have you. What will happen if you choose not to do that, if you come, but, you drink or you get high while you're here or something like that, what we're going to do is we're going to take away your car keys and we're going to call a cab or an Uber and we're going to pour you into the car and let them take you home. And, you're not going to drive on our watch. You're not going to drive under the influence. And we would rather that not happen, but that's what would happen if you decided to not follow our rules
I love
for
that. You've
this.
covered all bases. There is no room for, well, I didn't know you guys would feel this way. No, here's what's
That's
going to
right.
happen. Here's what we expect. And if it
That's right.
doesn't go this way, we're going to kindly do this.
That's right. That's right. And you can use the sandwich technique for that too. And at the end you can say, and I hope you decide to come and that you feel that you can stay clean and sober for the whole event.
Yeah, that's great.
We
That's
hope
great
we
advice.
hope that because we really love you and we'd like to have you there.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
you're giving the addict a choice. You're saying, which it's all about, right?
which it
It's all
is.
about choice. Underneath everything, underneath disease or anything else, it's a choice that people make to be in active addiction or to be in recovery. So you're giving the addict a choice of even 2 hours to be clean and sober because they can.
Yes.
May be difficult, but they can do it.
Right. And for everything that they've put the family through, I think 2 hours, but at that time you're talking some, we're, I know we're going to go, we're going extra here just because this is our last show. I want to ask,
Okay.
selfishly, I want to ask one thing.
Okay.
Like I told you, I just had a friend lost an adult friend.
Yeah.
If I were to show up on Thanksgiving at the house, is that imposing or is that showing respect? Or do you leave people alone at these times? I don't know. I wonder what you think.
Well, I think it really depends on the family, and it depends on where they are in their own grieving. But I think you could ask them. I think you could just I'm such a
What about
big
dropping off a
proponent
pie?
of. Yeah, well, you can email them, you can text them, you can go over with the pie and just say, I'm not wanting to intrude, but I want you to know that I'm thinking of you, and I don't need to stay. I just wanted to give you this. And
Perfect.
they might say to you, no, Casey, please stay,
Uh-huh.
or they may say, thank you very much. We're not doing a lot of celebrating, but we appreciate the pie.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
And you can ask them ahead of time too. You can say, there's something I want to bring over. Would it be okay to do that? You
Okay.
know?
All right. Thank you. I
Um,
mean, you know about this stuff, and that's why Love with Boundaries has been so successful. And you've
Love
had
with
some.
boundaries. Yes, that's my business, is lovewithboundaries.com. I just want to say one more thing about, if the addict that you loved has passed on
Yeah.
and he's not there anymore, my suggestion, if you feel okay with this, would be to have a chair at your table, an empty chair, and just honor that person and honor the love that you had for that person. I know that you didn't like them all the time, because addicts are hard to like. They make it hard, but you did love them, and you still do. So if you feel okay with this, you can just put a chair at your table, and let that be okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Candace. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Um, you've
yeah.
turned out to be a really cool friend, by the way.
Mm, thank you.
So let me give you the last word. Anything, well, we've done a bunch of shows here, and I believe that you've gotten through to a lot of people and
Yeah.
taught people a lot. Let me just give you the floor here for the end of this series.
Okay. Well, I'll probably say things that I've said in other shows. If you've been on other shows, it bears repeating. And if you haven't, it'll be for the first time. Two of my favorite sayings are, if you're going through hell, and a lot of families are at this point, at this time of year, if you're going through hell, keep going. Keep going, because otherwise you get stuck in hell, and nobody wants to do that. So keep going. If you're having trouble dealing with whatever your situation is, you can contact us at Love with Boundaries. We offer a free, no strings attached, free 30-minute consultation, usually by Zoom. And we can work with anybody anywhere in the world on Zoom. As long as you have Zoom and you can speak English, we've got somebody in Finland now, it's that kind of thing. So yeah, it doesn't matter what the time zone is. If you need help, let us know that. What you need to do is fill out a questionnaire. The link is on the website, lovewithboundaries.com, and fill out the questionnaire as soon as we get it. Soon as we get it, we know that addiction doesn't wait and that you need help now. We will contact you and we'll set up the 30-minute consultation. And if we'll ask you a little bit about what you're going through. We'll tell you a little bit about how we work. If you want to proceed, that's what we do. If you don't, that's okay. So, but this is all we do. We are very specialized. I have a team of really wonderful counselors who are specialized in working with the families. We also work with the addict when they're ready. So we help you help them to get ready for us.
Got it.
But we usually start with the family first, because there are things they need to change. There are things you're doing. If it's not working, then there are things you need to change. And we will show you what those things are.
Got it. Candace Plattor, I want you to have a great Thanksgiving, and can't wait till our paths cross again. Thank you so much. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.